Real name?
Yeah.
Or you want my born name from the nation? You want what you want?
Any way you want to identify yourself.
Ian Robinson, 29 years old. Also born to the nation of gods and earth. Supreme King Sincere.
How old were you the first time you were arrested?
14.
Could you tell that story?
I was in the city of Orange on Tustin Avenue. Some bullshit ass movie theater. I don't remember the name of it. But I was with two of my friends, and we was like basically aggressive panhandling. You know what I mean? The police called it extortion. They really didn't have a name for it. They called it extortion at first. That's what I was arrested for. But the shit was, they made up some other shit when I got there because that's not really what it was. Plus, by that being my first time getting in trouble, they just gave me some community service or something. It really wasn't nothing. I don't really know what they ended up calling it, but that's what I was arrested for, extortion. But as far as what the facts of what happened, we was basically asking motherfuckers for shit in a way that suggested that they should just give it to us, because we was grimy like that. So basically, it was aggressive panhandling, just like that. So they didn't know that's not a crime. So they had to make some shit up. They called it extortion.
How many times have you been arrested?
I couldn't say for sure. Probably something around 10. Maybe a few less, maybe a few more. Something like around 10 times. Yeah, 10, something like that. There was times when I got arrested and didn't stay. So between 10 and 15.
Could you tell us about some of your charges?
I got a residential burglary, theft, strong arm robbery, assault with a deadly weapon, mayhem.
What is mayhem?
Mayhem is it's a law for it's designated for like when you chop somebody's shit off, you chop somebody's hand off or arm, or you bust a bottle over somebody's head and shit, and it splits their, splits their face, and they gotta have stitches and all that type of shit. It's basically it's really just assault with a deadly weapon, but if you can get life for it. You can't get life for assault with deadly weapon. You can get life for mayhem because if it's for shit like, say if you just, all you did was chop somebody's hand off, they wouldn't call that assault with a deadly weapon or attempted murder. They'll call that shit mayhem because that's just some wild shit to do. It's also reserved for biting people and shit like that. Like what Mike Tyson did to Evander Holyfield, that's mayhem. That's a Class A felony, and you can get 25 to life for that shit. Yeah, I regret it. I regret it. But coming from, it's hard to regret it at the time. When I was doing this shit, coming from the mindset of a savage. When a lot of times we raised up, and the reason why we don't do shit, we're raised up with certain principles and beliefs and shit like that. So when I got knowledge of self is when I did start to have regrets, and I did start to want to be different, and it was for the right reasons, not for some, fake ass shit because of society or because of the law or because of religious shit. Righteousness is righteousness is gonna shine through. But it's only gonna be right to you when you're doing it because you understand why. I grew up in without any kind of fear of authority, without any respect for authority, and a lot of that shit had to do with the things I learned in school. I didn't give a fuck about, when I'm learning about how certain people came to gain wealth in the world, it was all through savage acts. These motherfuckers were just smart enough to outlaw the shit they did to gain power. So knowing that and sitting in class knowing that shit, it was hard for me to take that shit seriously because, how you gonna tell me, not to do this shit? This is what you did to gain power. All these faces of these motherfuckers printed on our money that we grovel for every day. these motherfuckers wasn't no great people. A lot of them was pieces of shit. But they faces plastered all, statues are built of these motherfuckers, and they was thieves, rapists, robbers, murderers, slave owners. These people were not good people. So I didn't give a fuck based on a lot of that shit, you know what I mean? And that's how I justified it to myself at that time, so I didn't give a fuck. But when I got old enough to know what's right and what's wrong for real, and I had a firm understanding of the history of the world, just from a logical standpoint, you don't need no 1,000-page book to tell you to treat people how you want to be treated. If you don't want that shit done to you, then don't do it. And that's good enough for me now. But I was such a savage growing up that I didn't stop to think about that shit. You know what I mean? So when you get knowledge of self, a lot of shit gonna change about how you do what you do. My personal journey with it really started out of curiosity, trying to learn about religion, because it was maybe, I think I went to prison in 2000. I converted in 05, in 2004. I caught 32 months in 2004, right? So 22 when I went in, so I said, fuck it, man. I'm 22, I'm in the Orange County Jail. I've been sentenced already, I'm finna go to the pen. I got 2 years left to do. And I get into it with some nigga, man, on the tier. Mix him up real quick, the police come in, spray a nigga with the shit. Then the sergeant come talk to me. They sent me to go to the hall, I go to the hall. Like a week later, Orange County, they don't take you right there, they make you wait. You do some shit, then a week later you go to solitary, right? So anyway, a week later I go to solitary, I'm chilling. You can only take one book in there, so I said, fuck it, man, I'm gonna take the Bible in this motherfucker because it's the only book I ain't gonna finish. I took the Bible, and I read the whole Old Testament in that 10 days, and half of the New Testament, right? And it fucked me up, man, because that shit was crazy. I read the Old Testament, and I'm like, how is the fuck is this? It was like Lord of the Rings or some shit. But it don't strike you that way until you really read it like that. Page after page after page, it's a story. The Old Testament is a story. It's one of the best stories. It's got prostitutes, it's got war, it's got women being slaughtered, babies getting killed, all kind of vicious shit. If you like Quentin Tarantino or something, you like the Old Testament, because that's what they talking about. It's all that, rapes. So you got a man, an angel come down from heaven, and the man offers his daughter to be raped by the town to protect the angel. Just all kinds of just way out crazy shit in the book, right? So I'm reading this shit, it's fucking me up. You know what I'm saying, about the tribe of Judah and all this, the things they did and the people that they were. And I'm like, man, I don't want to be a part of this shit. And then I got to the New Testament, and it was like it was a whole nother God in that book. And so I just put the New Testament down because I just felt like it was, I don't know, I was still reeling from the Old Testament. So anyways, I still haven't gone all the way through the New Testament. I don't care to. You know what I'm saying? I know nothing about what that shit is. I'm good. You know what I'm saying? I think I could be a good person without it. But anyways, I'm studying these things. I also studied Islam during this time. I read the Quran. I read half the Quran. And, I went to Juma. I tried to do the weird-ass prayers and all that shit. I tried to be involved with that shit. I tried to talk Arabic to pray because that's God's special language, right? You know what I'm saying? I tried to do what these motherfuckers was in there doing just to learn, you know what I'm saying? I experienced that shit, and it was just, I was finding that, so what I did, because I was finding that it was all bullshit, what I did was, I started reading books about the origin of these things. I started reading books, about other things in history, actual facts, events, things that happened. You know what I'm saying? The things that have structured the world, you know what I'm saying? Also about the origins of these religions and where they come from, and that really opened my mind up. So once you open my mind with that, you show us that the Bible is one book. But if I read 10 books telling me explaining to me why the Bible is not completely correct and exact, why it's not the word of God, you know what I'm saying, why it's been mangled, you know what I'm saying, and why, and how could you ever even put some shit like that down on paper, the word of a being so omnipotent that is beyond anybody's imagination? How the fuck is that going to be contained in a, if you really think about this shit, it's crazy anyway, right? But anyways, I wanted to learn, because I was thinking about becoming a Christian. But I didn't want to just do this shit, I wanted to learn. I was thinking about becoming a Muslim, but I wanted to learn, and none of that shit was for me, so I got into just really reading true knowledge, because I stopped reading James Patterson and motherfucking Grisham and all that old bullshit, you know what I mean? I enjoyed them books, but I started reading real knowledge books, you know what I'm saying? Actual facts, motherfuckers can point to some shit and back it up with references and all that old shit. You know, I mean, you can't argue. I mean, you can't fuck with it. You know what I'm saying? So I started reading stuff like that, and it wasn't like anti-religion. It was just like telling the truth about some shit. If motherfuckers still want to run around and say that Jesus Christ is their savior and that that's God to them, that's fine. Fuck it, do it. Everybody, men kissing men, all kind of shit anyway. I mean, you know, it's crazier shit happening, so that's, you know, that's all fine and good. I just don't want my people to be misled and shit, because I think it's a filthy religion. I think the way it was spread was filthy, and I think the people who brought it into existence was filthy. And I know that it was brought in with bad intentions, right? So that's how I feel about that. And I feel like that about most religions. I think it's a control. And shit, at this point in the world, it's probably necessary. But, you know, like I said, man, motherfucker I was just seeking knowledge, man. So I got into the Nation of Gods and Earths. You know, I started building with the guys on the yard. I started talking about real shit, man. We started building, you know, conversating, you know, really talking about things, you know, young black men trying to figure shit out, you know what I'm saying, on the yard, right? So we was building. Everything we did was intellect. I'm talking to people, you know, who are challenging my intellect. I learned about the old lessons from the 1930s that Master Farr brought, you know, which is just a small little tiny taste of culture, but it was so important at the time it was brought to us, and it still carries so much weight today, because I can almost envision being that ignorant, you know what I'm saying, peon citizen, second-class citizen, you know, just released off slavery 60 years ago, you know what I'm saying, just struggling, trying to, you know, going to church, not knowing what the fuck going on. Only thing I know is that I'm, you know, second to a white motherfucker. You know what I'm saying? They driving by me, you know what I'm saying? I could put myself in that position to read these things, and it was uplifting, it was empowerment. And it was knowledge, man, it was truth, you know what I'm saying? It was telling us where we from, that we not just pieces of shit. You know what I'm saying? That we somebody, that we came from something. And that the things that we going through and the reason why we're here is not our fault. So anyways, I just started building, man, and it just went on from there. You know, it would take me forever to really get into it and lace you and explain you. I learned the original lessons, you know what I'm saying? I got born to the nation on August 9th, you know, Supreme King Sincere. You know, 5% Nation of Gods and Earths. You know what I'm saying? Knowledge, that's it. Knowledge, wisdom, understanding. That's what we striving for, and that's what we want for our people. You know what I'm saying? And my kids, my children will be 5%ers, you know what I'm saying? They're gonna be like me. They're gonna deal with, now they're gonna be good people, great people, loving people. You know what I'm saying? But they're gonna know and understand why they are like that. Because they're naturally human. They're like that because that's who they are.